I'm leaning in that direction too. Any movie, Larry, any movie that involves a jury decision, there's always a scene in every movie that involves a jury where the lawyers are talking to their client and they go over, well, the amount of time it takes to deliberate is either working for us or against us, right? The amount of time this jury is out is a good thing or it's a bad thing. Which is it? Do you attach any good thing or bad thing to this taking longer than I think both of us expected it would take? Do you drift into it means they're already, knocking on a second door on choice B or C? Or do you think it's just a high level negotiation and these things take time? As you said, there's no way they let go of Steve Wilkes without a plan. It feels like it wouldn't take very long to execute that plan, at least not this long. So is any of this sitting on well with you at all?
No, I mean, I've been talking Belichick for over a month, and I really believe that they offered him the job. And Peter King went on the radio last week, and we'll talk more about Peter today because Peter announced his retirement today. But he went on the radio locally last week and said, I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Shanahan offered the job to Bill Belichick. And then if you're going to offer a job, like this, that's beneath Bill Belichick to Bill Belichick, but when it's also beneath him and also the far and away the best football job he's going to get offered to him this offseason, I think that you got to give him some time to think it over. And that's why I really believe Mike Silver's reported that word around the league is that they've just talked internally. Yeah, because I don't think if you're going to offer the job, like I believe it's been offered to Bill Belichick, I don't think you offer it to anybody but him. And there is no other candidate. And if you want to, you don't bum rush him, you give him plenty of time. And also, this is probably a tricky financial negotiation because if I'm right and it's Belichick, he's going to get record-setting defensive coordinator money. So it is wild. It would absolutely be the biggest story in the NFL all week, outshining the combine itself. But I think the 49ers, I think it works, Damon. Why? Because of Bill's relationship with Eddie, Eddie's ties to the team, the fact that this is the best job Bill could get. I think this is also a major check your ego moment at the door for both Kyle Shanahan and Bill Belichick, which is why I think it actually works, because I think they both have to check their ego at the door, and at this point, I think, there's a lot of people like, oh, Kyle Shanahan would never do that because then if they won the Super Bowl, it would be viewed as Belichick helped get him over the top. And all I would say to that is I think Kyle Shanahan at this point just wants to get over the top and does not care how it looks, who says what. There were an awful lot of people in 1994, 1995, Damon. You were around in the market at that time, working at Sports Byline over with me and the great Todd Herson. A lot of people said back in January and February of 1995, you know what? Nobody's ever going to look at this Niners Super Bowl the same because they had Dion. This will be the one they had to go get Dion to get him over the top. Well, here we are. It's 2024, and nobody says, well, the Niners have 4, and they've got that one with Dion. They say the Niners have 5. So nobody's going to remember, which ones you won with KD and which ones you didn't win with KD. No one's going to remember which ones you won with Dion and without Dion. Nobody's going to care which ones you won with Belichick and without over time. Maybe Nick Wright and a few talking heads in the present will highlight, that this is somehow disrespectful or, some kind not a full achievement. But history will remember it as a full achievement. Shanahan's keenly aware of that. And so I really believe Kyle's at that point now where he doesn't care what it takes to get beyond Reed and Spagnuolo. And if it takes him and Bill to get by Reed and Spagnuolo, so be it. I said this over a month ago. I'll stay with it now. I think he's the hire. And it's just a matter of, does he want it? Will he take it? Does he view it? Does he want to ride off into the sunset and do nothing? Because those are his choices. Ride off into the sunset and do nothing, or be a defensive coordinator on one of the great teams in the league and on an iconic team. So I think it's going to get done. I think it's going to be a major story, but we'll see. We'll see. I do understand the people who push back in a big bad way, going, it's preposterous. It does seem preposterous.
Well, Larry,
I get it.
He's the ultimate overqualified hire, right? I mean, he's the most overqualified defensive coordinator in the history of anyone taking that position, if he does take that position. But in a game of musical chairs, the man has nowhere to sit in terms of being a head coach anywhere in the NFL. There is zero chance he goes back to college. So now the question is, do you want to coach? Because if Bill Belichick was too old this year to get a head coaching job, a year older, a year removed from the league doesn't do him any favors. Are you a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm? Do you ever watch the show?
It's so funny you said that. I did a Curb Your Enthusiasm marathon on what, Friday night, or I guess it was Saturday night. Okay. Saturday night, I watched all of the very latest season 12 of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So yes,
a couple of seasons ago, the plot was Larry was going to open his own coffee shop next to Mocha Joe's,
right?
And it's a spite store. My question is, Larry, how much does Bill Belichick want to open a spite store against the NFL? Because the old, nobody thinks I'm worth hiring as a head coach. All right, fuck you guys. I'm going to go join Kyle Shanahan. He's going to be the best offensive mind in the league. I'm going to be the best defensive mind in the league. You want to say that he can't win it on his own? He doesn't care anymore. You talk about how people were going to remember it. Forget about what everyone's going to remember. Here's what everyone knows. Kyle's lost 2 Super Bowls. He can't afford to go to a third and lose that one too. To bring to bear the very best team with the very best coaches is the job. You bring the full might of all NFL power to bear with this roster, that head coach, that defensive coordinator. Just think of Bill Belichick being the wartime consigliere that every 49er can walk up to and just get every drop of NFL knowledge from. The man is a walking, talking, living football historian, much less coach. There's no aspect of the league he isn't acutely aware of. And here's my pitch to Bill Belichick. Here's the elevator pitch, Larry. Are you ready? Lean over to Bill and just say, X's and O's, and it never snows. That's all you need to know, Bill. You don't have to deal with the media. You don't have to deal with Tom Curran. You don't have to deal with Boston up your ass. You don't have to deal with anyone asking you stupid questions with your monotone answers just being served to them, and they don't stop no matter how disinterested you seem. All of the things that you can't stand about football vanish instantly, and all the things that you love, X's and O's and relationships with players, are still there. To me, there's got to be a pile of money that is big enough to put that with all the other things that I just talked about in front of Bill to make him go, yeah, you know what? I am going to open a spite store in Santa Clara and take it out on the NFL for not hiring me.
And Broken Metronome says, Larry saying Kyle has no ego. What the fuck has he been watching the past 7 or 8 years? I didn't say he had no ego. I said he's going to check his ego at the door. And Belichick's got an ego, and he's going to check his at the door. That's why it works, because both guys have, in theory, something to lose, right? Both guys are taking, Kyle is admitting that he needs help, and Belichick's admitting that he needs a top-tier football job, and he doesn't have one. And that but it works because at both men's core is this: they claim to be all about football. And if it's all about football, I don't think Shanahan wants to get on the headsets in the middle of the Super Bowl. I don't think he wants to sit there and question, is this the right, when he's sitting there between series, does he want to sit there and go, is this the right coverage call on defense? He wants to be able to hand the keys to the defense to somebody else and say, hey, wait a second. You take these keys, you run with it. I want to have total trust. So that's where I think Belichick works. I really do. And the only thing is money. It's about money for Bill, because I shouldn't say that, but he made $25 million and Kyle's making like 14.5. I don't think the Niners are going to pay their defensive coordinator $25 million, but I do think they may offer him a 2-year, $25 million deal, with maybe most of it guaranteed in the first year. So he's like, hey, you know what? How about this? We'll offer you a $25 million 2-year deal, 20 in year 1, 5 in year 2, and you don't owe us anything if you want to ride off into the sunset. Therefore, he gets close to what he was going to make as a head coach this year, which is record-setting DC money, and you get your guy. And I think, it makes sense for Kyle right now. It makes sense for Belichick right now. And it really makes sense when you look at the 49ers roster, because Bill Belichick is a great defensive coach. They need to retool their defensive line, and they need to coach up their secondary. And that's really a big thing. I mean, you look at that secondary, they've invested in young players here. Luter, Jair Brown, even Mooney Ward's not very old. Hafanga's young. Womack's young. Ambry's young. Demo's young. I mean, they've got 6 or 7 young DBs. They probably need to draft a couple more in this draft. The other reason I think this works is the Niners, maybe you get a guy like Belichick to bring in Kyle Duggar with them, and or a Josh Oshie. Ushi, I should say. Both those guys are exactly what the Niners are looking for, that speed rusher opposite Bosa and kind of the leader of their secondary. And I think they're both Patriots who played for Bill, and he might be able to influence one of them to come with. So I know it's crazy talk. I know it's over the top. But you know what? I don't think it's all that crazy. And by the way, MF has this one, Damon. Kawakami just now. Industry sources last week thought the 49ers would have been ready to announce a new defense coordinator by now, but there's, quote, obviously been a bit of a delay and some potential things to sort out. So we shall see.
All right. You can make that go away. We don't need to see MF's comment, but thank you very much. I think that the reason why it's not crazy, the reason why it's not insane, is because Bill Belichick does not have another option. There is no professional head coaching or defensive coordinating position open anywhere else in this league. So the question is simply this: Bill, do you want to keep going? Do you want to keep coaching? Is this sport so intertwined in your veins, in your blood, that you need it to feel normal? Because you know what would feel abnormal? Bill Belichick on a Sunday sitting on ESPN's NFL Live set, pretending to have a conversation that he gives a rip about actually having with anyone up there. That is abnormal. To me, I see Bill Belichick in a defensive coordinator position more normally than I see him just, hey, I'm another media guy. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, he's not going to yuck it up on some panel. He's not going to, hey, Bill, make a great point about defense, but make it in 40 seconds because we've got to get a live shot with Jeff Darlington. No, he's just not, he's not doing that. I don't see him doing that. Kyle prides himself on being all football, that he's all football. And Belichick prides himself on being all football. And so in some ways, this is a challenge to both of them. Are you all football? If you're all football, then what do you care about who gets the credit? You just want to win. You just want to contribute to a winner. So I think there's a relationship there between, Kyle told me that before he watches Niner film, that he watches the Patriots. And I said, and this is a couple years ago, I said, because of Brady? And he's like, no, because of Belichick. So he watches Patriot defense every week to look for innovative and interesting defensive coordinator things. Okay. Kyle also told me, I think it was 2 years ago now, that, and I forget the context, but it was like he volunteered this. Hey, if I had a good defensive coordinator and Bill Belichick was available, I'd be smart to fire my good defensive coordinator and go hire Bill Belichick. And then with Belichick already gone through all the coaching interviews and the cycles open and closed, Shanahan gets rid of a defensive coordinator with experience late in the process without lots of options available, who has who is top 10 in total D and top 5 in points allowed. That's a major risk. You can't, if you run off Steve Wilkes and you give the job to Daniel Bullocks, and Daniel Bullocks, who's never been a DC before, falls on his face, and you waste a season, that's almost a borderline fireable offense. So and I agree with JJ Rader here, and that's why I have it on the board. He says if Bill Belichick wanted to spite someone, it would be the Patriots and Kraft. Bill would wait 1 year to see if Robert Saleh gets fired and take the Jets head coaching job and beat the Patriots. Don't think he wouldn't jump to that job, and don't think the 49ers wouldn't allow him to jump to that job in a year. But the one thing, JJ, you got to remember, Bill Belichick has coached every single season in the NFL since 1975. 1975, the guy's coached every year in the league.
That's my lifetime.
Yeah.
That is my entire lifetime. I was born in 1975. So that
Damon's
is my
got kids that are 5. I was 5 the last time Bill Belichick did not coach in the NFL. So to me, the more dramatic thing is to be like, is Bill not going to coach in the NFL this year? That would be incredibly dramatic.
I'll tell you what would be even more hurtful to the Patriots is if the Buffalo Bills come up short again and Bill Belichick were to take that job with Josh Allen. Now, all of a sudden, the Patriots are officially worried. Look,
yeah.
The thing, though, about Belichick is the man is 71 years old. And, he doesn't get younger this year by not coaching. And if Bill Belichick was just a little too old, out of style, or whatever, wanted too much power to the galactic loser Atlanta Falcons saying thanks, but no thanks, I don't know if his head coaching prospects increase ever again. So this might be it for Bill. This really might be it. Look, sports are painful. When it's over, it's over. And it is sometimes painfully over.